Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industry. Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Charli Matthews, and I am joined with my co-host, Bethany Womack.
Thanks so much, Charli. We're super excited to be back here with you, our listener. Please do us a favor and leave us a rating and review that really helps us show up in podcast platforms so that other listeners like yourself can find the show. Like every week, we're going to cover social media updates, preview the news from Empowering Pumps and Equipment, and connect you with an industry influencer. And spoiler alert, this week it's one of my favorite. But before we start, Charli, how was your week?
Well, I've had a very emotional week, lots of ups and downs, but I can say I'm very proud of my network this week. We had a lot of positive meetups happening, people connecting and helping the community accomplish things. And one thing I'm also really proud of is our sponsors, DSI Dynamatic. Rebecca Hart has been sharing our podcast, so we're really excited to have her as a customer and partner of ours, also participating in this podcast. And we want you to do that too. So if you ever, see something you like, please mention us and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I was just so happy to be able to see her on the meetups this week and see her participating in the podcast this week too. So that really made me happy.
It's great when we can see who we're talking to. It's nice to put a face to the listeners.
Yeah, and especially you find out, little cool things about people on these meetups that you wouldn't normally know. So she also has a business where she is a dog trainer. And so I think that's just super cool. And this just adds to what we're doing on these meetups that we're having. Another thing that I experienced was someone sent me a question that needed answered. It was about an audit for somebody's water system in Jamaica. And so I posted that question on LinkedIn, and our community came together, and there were several people who offered solutions and would reach out to that person. So I was super happy about that, to be able to support somebody in their, finding a solution for water, especially during Water Week. So that was great.
And that's really the full mission of Empowering Pumps and Equipment, is to be able to connect people. And so it's really cool when you get to see that.
That's so true. And I'm going on and on, but one thing I wanted to talk about was this week I was actually supposed to be in Uganda. I had sponsored some children over there. We call them the Charli's Angels. And so I'm not there, obviously. And it still was great, though, because I got to support Water Week, and I wouldn't have been here otherwise. And so maybe I'm not there with them, but we are still working for solutions for water. So anyway, very emotional, happy week and proud moments. And also I heard that the University of Alabama will plan to have classes this fall. So that is super exciting. And I take that as some hope that we can go forward with.
They've said that about Texas A&M as well, and some other Texas universities. And so I'm choosing to feel like that is some positive news. But before I let you get away from that, why don't you explain to everyone what Charli's Angels are? I think it's a really cool mission and something really cool that you do that I think people would love to hear about.
Well, a couple of years back, I think it's 5 now, I started sponsoring children through the Chance Project. And what that is basically I donated some money for them and to help them have clean water. So they have a pump system where they can get the water, but the water was not filtered properly. So they were still getting sick. So they do things like that. They do mission work. They do making sure that everybody has nets and the proper bedding. I know one time they were actually making the beds when they went over there, but basically donating to help them have a chance for clean water and also the opportunity to learn. So a lot of the times they're teaching the children in this orphanage is what the money goes to. So I love it. There were 32 of them. That's our number, kind of our special number for our family, lucky number 32. And so we call them Charli's Angels.
I saw that you got your office all set up, and when you were posting pictures on your social media of that, the picture of Charli's Angels was in that. So you have to reshare it. So everyone, when they hear the podcast, they can see who you're talking about when you're talking about Charli's Angels. It's really cool.
I'll absolutely do that.
That's awesome.
So tell me about your week, Bethany. How was it?
My week was really awesome. This is the first year that I've been really plugged into the industry. Thank you, Charli, for bringing me in and encouraging me to plug in more during Water Week. And so I've had just a lot of fun finding new people to follow, being on Twitter and using that hashtag Water Week 2020 to see different things that are going on. And I found new people to follow and learned some new awesome things. Yesterday on Twitter, I learned about design thinking just by asking and using the hashtag Water Week, and I learned it. And I just thought it's been an awesome week for me to learn.
Well, speaking of learning, let's just make sure that everybody that is listening to this understands the hashtag and how to use it and connect with people. So a hashtag is just putting a hashtag or the, old school pound sign in front of any word. That creates this hashtag that we're talking about. And if you click on that in any post, it will pull up other posts that use that same hashtag. So it helps you connect a theme or a group or community through just that word. You can see all the different posts that go out. So I think just explaining that, I've had to do that several times in the past, but it's as simple as putting that hashtag in front of a word. And to the point, nobody owns these hashtags. So if you have an idea and you want to use it, you don't have to worry about somebody owning a hashtag.
And even though when you're listening to this podcast, Water Week will be over, those hashtags are still there. So go on Twitter, go on LinkedIn and look for Water Week 2020. And you can see the conversations that people had last week. And that might get you some new people to follow, make some new connections.
Yes. We're so busy sometimes during Water Week or other events that we kind of do that after the fact too. So it's kind of a combination. You're there live and you're also connecting with people after the event is over.
I guess we always seem to kind of jump around a little, but I guess social media just kind of bleeds into everything that you and I talk about. But since we're talking about social, why don't we go ahead and jump into the next segment? I'll let you do the honors.
Let's get social.
Okay, so let's get social. This is the section where we talk about what's happening in the industry on social media or new trend or just anything that you need to know about social media. But before we actually get to the meat of our tip, our trend for today, I do want to encourage everyone to connect with us on social media. So on all of the platforms, look for @EmpoweringPumps. And then if you have questions or you want to comment on the podcast, use the hashtag EmpoweringIndustryPodcast. Send us your question so that we can give you a shout out on the show, just like Charli gave a shout out to Rebecca earlier. Thank you so much for sharing us. But we want you to send in your questions using that hashtag so we can mention you and get you some answers.
Yes. And so this week on Let's Get Social, we're going to talk about Zoom. I know you've probably seen people on Zoom, been invited to Zoom, or you're thinking about inviting some people to Zoom. So we want to go through that and just really talk about it, make sure everybody's on the same page. So kind of what is Zoom? It's basically a video conferencing system, right? So there's several different options depending on how many people you want to connect with or serve. Looking at your goal, you need to look at their different pricing options and solutions. Some are free. It is free to attend a Zoom meeting, but to set up the different meetings, you need to look into that. One option is for 1,000 participants or 49 videos shared. That's kind of that first level of meetings. And by the way, Bethany, we almost hit that 49 videos shared in our Empowering Women's meetup this week. So we've got to look into that for next time.
That is so awesome. That was so cool. We had 2 screens of people, of just smiling faces that I could see. It was an amazing call.
Yes. And so we want to make sure that, we can keep doing that and properly. So if we get to the level where we need 100 video participants, then we need to go to a webinar service, which is really great because it also has Facebook Live, YouTube Live that we can interact with, and up to, I think, 10,000 attendees. So that's exciting. And just so many different options. I saw some options there for connecting physical rooms, say for conference centers. So we'll look into that more, but I just wanted to stop a minute and see, are you using this, and give you a couple of tips. So one thing that I know that I want to talk about is turning your video on. So that you have the option to show your face or to not. And I think it's very important that we do connect with people using the video. Just, turn the video on, smile, laugh, frown, cry, whatever mood you're in is okay.
And that was something that came up on our Empowering Women call that we had. Angel Wildman was on the call, and she was talking about how she is encouraging / requiring her team when they do their Zoom meetings to turn their video on. She's just like, we need that personal connection. We don't get to see each other in the office anymore. And so it's very important to her, and I'm finding it very important to me, and loads of other people are right now that are using Zoom, just to be able to have that where you can see someone and see their reaction. Communication is way more than just what you hear.
Absolutely. And even not just trying to read and have fun during these calls and connecting with people, also real things that happen where you're reading people's body language, right? Maybe you cut someone off and you couldn't notice it because you are, not seeing them face to face, right? So you really want to make sure that you use that tool, to be the best that we can be during this time. Use all the features.
For sure. So I guess I could start out with the tips and tricks I have for participating. Sound good?
Perfect.
We realize that by now, a lot of you probably have used Zoom, but on every single Zoom that we've been on, we find ourselves telling the same tips to people that are attending. So I just jotted some down from our last meeting so I could share them with you. The number one thing I think that really helps is that when you're participating, you should mute yourself when you aren't talking, because depending on how your audio is set up, sometimes you can get some feedback. You might drop something. If you have kids at home, they might start yelling something.
Never happens.
Never. No, never. Your phone might ring or something. Just that way you're not the distraction in the meeting. But then to help with feedback issues. And yes, sometimes you can forget to unmute yourself. I promise you someone will tell you. The minute people don't start reacting to what you're saying, you'll realize you were muted and unmute yourself. I really like to use headphones for one, so that people I'm sharing my house with currently don't have to listen to the whole meeting. But then it also helps cut down on that feedback issue. And then the biggest thing that we have problems with is reminding people there's a gallery view option. So most of the time when you open Zoom, it will take you to the speaker view as a default, which means you will only see the person that is talking and everyone else will be really small at the top. At the top, you can switch your view to gallery view, and then you can have, I call it the Brady Bunch setup, where you just have grids of squares and people looking at you smiling, and that way you can see everyone at the same time, which is really cool. And then my last tip is to find some good lighting. That way people can actually see your face. So I was super basic, and I have a ring light, which is like a...
So cool. You are so cool. I'm so jealous right now.
My husband made so much fun of me for that. The things I do for y'all so you can see me during a Zoom meeting. But, you don't need to get a ring light. But, sit by a window and open the window or turn on the lights in the room, whatever you need to do so that you've stepped out of the shadows and people can see you. I just find it more engaging when I can actually see someone's eyes when I'm talking to them.
Yes, and to that note about kind of the window and the light, it should be in front of you, not behind you. So
Correct.
Make sure it's shining onto your face. So no blaring light behind you. That's not a good sign. And so the other thing that I wanted to talk about was behind you, the screen. So maybe you don't want to show everybody your home. Well, they have these cool backgrounds that you can choose from.
So cool.
When I was leading the call the other day for the Empowering Women's group, it was Rebecca's birthday and I wanted to surprise her. So I created one of these backgrounds. This is Happy Birthday, Becca, to see if I could just kind of surprise her, because if she jumps on the call, it's already there. So anyway, it worked out well, thankfully, and she was surprised. And so there's a lot of different ways you can make things fun in these Zoom meetings too. But as a leader in the meeting, I think it's important that we set up the meeting for success. And so here are my tips and tricks. I always start the meeting by telling the participants how we communicate. So a lot of the times we're going to wave if there's a smaller group. When we have two screens, that was a little hard. But when it's just one screen of people, say under, I think 15, you can kind of wave and you can raise your hand. You can do little reactions that will pop up. And I also tell people to interrupt me because I'll get to talking. And so I don't mind being interrupted. So I allow people to interrupt me. But that may not be what your culture is or what you want to do. So set the meeting and the tone of the meeting right at the beginning. There are different ways to separate rooms if you wanted to do kind of different meetups at the same time. So look into that. And also, I would encourage people to use the chat function. As a leader, you're communicating during the call, and that's probably the most effective that I found that I can see it kind of pop up and know somebody wants to engage with me. And then they have a written list of that.
The chat function worked so great on the Empowering Women call, since there was almost 40 of us that were there. Not everyone can talk at the same time. And so people were giving their tips and tricks in the chat as well. And it helped us know who to call on. And you were able to save that, right? To share with everyone.
That's right. So that was new for me to learn too. So I've always kind of wondered on chats, right? You put it over there during the call. Am I supposed to stop what I'm doing and record that? No, you can actually save that as a document and send it out to your team after that. So that was a really helpful part of the meeting that I learned this week. And then it's also helpful to ask your people, right? Your team to help you and support you and make sure that, somebody is responding to the chat. I didn't have to ask because Bethany was on the call and she was just responding to people without having to be told, which is awesome.
I don't know what it was about that Zoom meeting, but within the first 5 minutes, I just felt so energized by all the positive energy that the women had in the event. And I was like, oh, we're not going to miss anything. And then someone suggested something about how their team that usually works remotely, even pre-COVID, would get together once a quarter to meet physically for a couple days to reconnect. And I was like, hey, Charli, take that as an action item for empowering brands next time.
That's right. I don't know what we were thinking. But the main thing, about that is just jumping in and smiling on these calls and talking. It changed your energy. There was a lady on the call that was just smiling the whole time. And I just had to call her out and say, okay, who are you? I'm just so excited. And her energy was so good that I needed to know a little bit more about her. So it was just such a fun way to connect with people. And I hope that everybody will turn those videos on, smile and wave and get some work done, right?
Which, speaking of that energy, I've noticed on a few of the calls, people will, you want to take a screenshot and share that we're on this Zoom call and it's awesome. So I've been working on my resting face and my just...
I deleted it, by the way.
When, just my face that I have when I'm not talking and not intentionally smiling. So it's been a good way to learn something about myself.
If you'd like to see Bethany, the next time we're going to have that is...
No, but thank you. Yes. So we do have calls that are free for our listeners to participate in, our audience, because we really want right now, especially, to give people an opportunity to connect with other people in the industry, get to see people, get to talk to people. And the topics span a lot of things, from industry to the women's one we talked some about, being there for your team, to the Empowering Pumps one. I feel like we talked about football.
I mean, it was just beer. It was beer and football the whole time. I don't know how we got there, but that basically was what the mood was at 4:00 on a Tuesday. So you just never know what the group is, that's going to connect with you, what they're going to bring, what their energy level is going to be. And you just adapt with it. And so we have, I think, several throughout the week, and I'm excited for the next one to see who's going to join us. And so we do it every 2 weeks, basically.
So we'll include the link in the show notes where you can sign up for these events. The next Empowering Pumps and Equipment call is scheduled for Tuesday, May 12th at 4 p.m. Central. And the next Empowering Women's call is the next day, right after that, Wednesday, May 13th at 11 a.m. Central. Next up in the news, every week we are going to preview some of the news that you will get to see if you are signed up for the Empowering Pumps and Equipment newsletter. So first of all, make sure you sign up for that. I'll have the link in the show notes. And every week we start out on the podcast with telling you about the Industry Person of the Week. This week, it is Ben Robertson. He's a mechanical engineer who enjoys working as a water systems consultant for Suez. He has a love of any type of project involving water. I read his profile. He's really cool. We want to make sure you check that out. So if you're signed up for the newsletter, which will have the link, you can read his whole profile. I highly encourage it.
You can also see that news item on empoweringpumps.com at any time. The news is there as well. So one of the items that I wanted to share that is in our newsletter, ABB discusses how clogged pumps can mean very expensive repairs. They offer case studies. One of them is on how wastewater treatment plant eliminates pump blockages. how to cut costs, maintenance costs, and reduce the risk of returning untreated water to the environment.
And that's something that we should all really care about.
Yeah, and it's a theme. It keeps recurring and recurring. So we know that this is happening in our culture, that with the pandemic, we are seeing that people are throwing these wipes or materials down the toilet, and we've got to have ways and solutions to fix that. So this is ABB offering a couple of case studies that we can learn from. We saw Vaughn Chopper Pumps offer, in our last podcast, some solutions there too. So I just wanted to point that out because it is such a big issue that we're trying to solve right now.
We also wanted to highlight another training. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Charli?
Yes. So with a large amount of the population self-isolating, people are dependent on the buildings and the mechanical systems and to be safe and comfortable in their homes, in their offices. In the world of HVAC, there are just so many different ways that people maybe don't understand that it's being serviced right now. And so Armstrong Fluid Technology is going to have a webinar on Friday, May the 8th. And they will share some examples of service and success in building performance and mechanical systems. And this is presented by Brent Ross, and he's a great thought leader in our industry. I love any time that he's talking on a subject. So I check that out and really know that HVAC is so important right now. There's so many different things that are in our water systems as well as our heating and cooling systems, right? So make sure that we pay attention to that and know what we need to be doing to keep them safe.
And I guess a little silver lining to slowing down like we are is you can really start to appreciate what is essential and the essential tasks people are doing to keep us comfortable.
That's right. And who's doing that? And so we really want to, highlight our skilled workers and our water treatment plant operators and just really the people that are out there that help us stay safe and comfortable every day.
Which is a great transition into who our industry interview is this week. And you started to set it up a little, but I just want to paint the picture even more for our listeners that if you're listening to this on Monday, coming up on May 6th is the National Skilled Trades Day. A day where we can celebrate people out there who, especially right now, we are getting to shine a spotlight on for the hard work they're doing to keep us comfortable, like we were talking about, to keep us running and to keep everything going. They don't get to stay home and take a break. They have to go to work every day, and we're really appreciative of that.
And it does take a skill. It takes a skill. They have a craft, and they've learned this skill, and they perfected it, and I find them amazing. So.
Especially if you have ever tried to do anything yourself.
Oh, well, we did that. We did that recently. So we had the toilet start leaking. And so we tried to fix the back by ourselves. And then, you had to take it all apart. And basically we ended up throwing the toilet at the tub. And so now we have a broken toilet and a broken tub. And we're like, I got to call the plumber. I don't know what to do next. And so that's what we do. I, of course, always call them first, but we tried it this time.
I feel like you're tiptoeing around this, so when Carter listens to this, he can't get mad at you for outing him.
I was tiptoeing.
So you're welcome for making you just spit it out. So tell us who your interview is with this week.
My interview this week is with Judaline Cassidy. She is the Feminist Plumber, and she is amazing. I first noticed her on an interview that she was doing with Megyn Kelly. And I was so excited to see that, on national TV that we were highlighting a plumber. And so I loved it. And I started following her immediately. Of course, I tweeted her and Megyn Kelly's show at the time. And so I just started to follow her, and she is amazing. She, it's not just about being a plumber. That's one thing she does. And she still, does that in her everyday life. She's a plumber in New York, but she also is an activist for the trades. And so she is constantly doing her best to promote trades everywhere.
That's right. She founded an organization called Tools and Tiaras, which organizes a camp every summer for young girls to learn the trades.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I think that we should go check out that camp. I mean, we've got girls that we can take for sure.
I 100% agree. I would love to see Carly there. I'd love to see Zoe. I would love to be there because just hearing Judaline talk about the camp, she was so excited and so passionate about it that I was like, I really want to see this in person. I'm going to read you the mission for Tools and Tiaras because I think it's important to set up what they're doing so everyone can understand why she's so awesome. So, Tools and Tiaras Inc. is committed to advancing the interest of young girls and women who want to pursue non-traditional careers. We hope to build a lasting passion and curiosity within the present generation of girls and women that will make them consider a career as an electrician, carpenter, plumber, or even an auto mechanic. Making intentional changes to the way we view and portray what constitutes women's work, quote unquote, will help foster the change that society needed desperately since yesterday. Tools and Tiaras wants and will be a part of this movement of change. And just hearing her talk about that, and she talks about how when she started this camp that she loves getting to talk to the young girls to prove to them, to show them that there is a way other than if you don't want to go to a 4-year college, there's a way you can do a career that is so valuable to society that will give you a lot of self-worth and that you can make a good career and a good living off of. And her passion to just share that with her community is amazing.
That's right. As soon as you meet her, you can see it, and she glows, and she's this petite little girl, that the woman that, it just bursts energy, and I just think it's amazing. And she definitely is doing some great work for our women and girls.
Without further delay, here's your interview.
Welcome, Judaline. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. I've fell in love with you when we were in Houston there at Energy 2.0, and I really before that online, but it was so great to meet you in person and see that you're genuine, and it was just really great to hear your story. And so I know your story, but do you mind kind of introducing yourself to our listeners?
Hi, everyone. My name is Judaline Cassidy. I am a feminist plumber, and I am the founder of Tools and Tiaras, a nonprofit.
And how long has that nonprofit been up and going?
2017, I started. June of 2017, I started Tools and Tiaras.
Yeah, I remember now. That was kind of right when you were starting that. You were also on the show with Megan Kelly there. I remember seeing you there, and I was so proud to, see tradeswomen be highlighted on the national news. So that was really fun to see. But let's just talk about plumbing for a little bit. How did you get into the plumbing industry?
I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago. It's one of the Caribbean islands. And I attended primary school and secondary school. And at the end of my secondary school year, I wanted to become a lawyer and go to university. But my great-grandmother passed away, and I couldn't afford to attend university. So the trades was the next best option. So I decided, since I failed at school at shorthand and typing and all the culinary subjects they gave to girls that are house related, I was not good at it. So the trades just seemed like I had a better chance of getting in one of those classes at the trade education school I wanted to go to than one of the other classes like secretarial. I knew a lot more women would be signing up for that. And that's how my journey into plumbing began. And still madly in love with it, even 20 years later.
Yeah, and today it's a little different. I feel like we as an industry are really trying to say it doesn't matter if you go to university or trade school, both are equally valuable. And I know you know that from kind of hearing you talk about the different salaries we can get in the trades as well. But what do you see as far as a holdup for, women and girls to be in these industries?
First of all, I think it's the way it's presented. There's a lot of food that a lot of people won't eat just because the way it looks, and we can't get past that. So I think the construction industry, they have always shown us to be the filthy, dirty job that why would you even want to look like that? And then on another level, that makes it even harder for girls because we're supposed to be pretty and dainty and don't use bad words. And so I think that is one, there's many reasons. And those are like two I think about. And I also think of the fact that when people try recruiting women into the trades or try those getting black and brown people interested in the trades, they don't show them a representation of themselves. So I think that's another reason.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anytime that we're trying to showcase diversity too, we really do want to see ourselves, right? So we're looking for someone to be a role model and we want to see that. So you're definitely doing that in your space and definitely moving the needle to shine a light on both the industry and women of color. I know I've seen this on kind of your profile where people describe you as a tradeswoman activist. What do you feel about that?
I don't feel any particular way. I mean, I believe that I live my life as an activist. I've always been a person who fight for everyone and all the things that I have, I want other people to have it. So I think it's pretty cool because I really am an activist for the trades. I believe in the power of the trades. I believe in the fact that this is a group of men and women that build nations all over the world and help build America. So I am part of that group of people, and I think representing them by saying I'm a trade activist, tradeswoman activist, is really cool. I mean, I fight for women, but I fight for the trades in general because I think what we do is so important to societies from the beginning of time. We have always played a part, and I just like being that person to really speak on it and speak on it from a place of I really am a plumber at this moment. I just finished working actually as a plumber. So I'm talking from a point of view of a real person in day to day wearing Carhartt clothes and boots, every day.
Well, let's talk about that. Tell me a little bit about the day in the life of a plumber.
So my day in my life as a plumber has changed a little bit. For about 20 years plus, I worked in high-rise buildings in New York City. I worked in hospitals, research hospitals, nuclear plants. I did a little bit, and schools. Now, last June, I decided to become a civil servant and work for the city of New York. So I am a plumber for NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority. And my day starts at 8 o'clock now, and we get tickets of residents within the housing authority that has a lot of plumbing issues. And they have a lot of plumbing issues because the pipes in these buildings have been around for a long time. So we get a ticket. It could be a stack, which is what takes the waste matter and stuff away. We could have a crack stack. We can have hot water leaks, and just it varies. Fixing floor flanges, boilers is a lot. So, but it's always interesting. Every day, it's totally different, and every day you meet a totally different person and have to learn how to empathize with someone who's telling you that it's for 6 months they have water coming down on them. So now that's my day as a plumber, and it's a little bit shift. It's not as heavy like I used to do before, but what I love about this job now is what I do have a direct effect on somebody's life today, not a year from now or 4 months when somebody moves in. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, it is really cool. And that you have both kind of experiences so that you can relate to these women that we're bringing into the workforce and they're really leaning on you. I'm sure you get questions all the time. How do you do this? And how do you motivate other women? And, one of the things that you're passionate about, the tools and tiaras, that's the younger generation. Do you have a certain age group that you really like to work with? Is there a better age to get in front of these girls?
I start from young as 6 years old. I love the 6 year olds because they're fearless. They live what it means to be fearless and they don't have any boxes created for them. Even though people might create boxes, they don't have any. And I love that age. They have the most questions and they also sometimes so fearless that you have to like, okay, stop. But I just love
Right.
being I just love being with the girls. I actually enjoy working with the girls and teaching the girls with the nonprofit and all the other things, trying to fundraise, emails and budgets and stuff like that. And give somebody else that. Give me teaching the workshop with the girls any day. I learn so much from them. They inspire me to like regain that fearlessness and they really make me laugh. And I get to be a fearless girl when I'm working with the girls. I don't know if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, it does. It sure does because I have a 9-year-old now, but that age where she went to school and then came back and she just had a million questions that I didn't know the answer to. I can remember her doing that, and, I love that age too, and it does, it fuels you, it gives you this inspiration to keep going, and Carly's my biggest cheerleader and inspiration here all the time, so I can
Mm.
definitely relate to that and know you get that feeling of you're really making a difference because you can see it. You can see them kind of light up as they're working with the tools. And so I just think that I'm with you. I love that age as well. But the questions though get me. But I know it's fun, right? And you're a pretty fun person. So I wanted to tell the story about what you did. I think it was last week where you did the jamming session. So tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about you jamming.
So my friend Katie and I met through Lean In, and we have the sisterhood of Lean In. So she was like, "You want to just get on a Zoom call, and we just like talk with people and let it jam in with Judaline, because she knows I'm from the island." And anybody who knows me and you met me, I hate taking pictures. I as much as I have to be in the media sometimes. I really do feel uncomfortable posing for pictures and stuff like that. And for years, my family members were trying to get me to do Zoom, and I couldn't. And you can't tell no, you can't tell Katie no. So I actually did it, and that's what fear is like. And it was so much fun. We talked. People asked me questions, and I'm very open and honest. And we talked about being motivated, what we can do during this time to not lose our minds. And it was just so much fun. And I actually don't drink, and this was pretty cool. We ask everyone to get a drink. It better be whatever your choice is, tea, coffee, or whatever. And we had a little buzzword, and if anybody said email, we had to take a sip. And I thought it was I thought it was really fun to being so afraid to do it. And I think I probably want to do some more because I got to just I don't know if it's the alcohol. I just got to relax a little bit and be the Judaline that I'm on the job site. Like when I do interviews and stuff, I hold back a little bit. But with the jam and with Judaline, I could really like be open up and just spend
Yeah,
time.
be yourself. Yeah, I think that it's hard when you know that you're on the spotlight and you're trying to say everything perfectly to make the biggest impact. And so we're rehearsing and we're talking about, how can I voice this to make sure that I'm giving credit to whoever I'm talking to and making
Mhm.
sure that I represent my company or myself well. And so all that stuff's going through our heads as we're trying to present. And so it is
Yeah.
stressful and just being able to hang out with the girls and chill and ask questions. We're going to do that, little meetups on Zoom with our company and also with our different community groups. And it's fun just to see somebody right now. Um,
Yeah.
I just love it. And you add some music in there, and that really does make us all feel better. And so we know that with relating it all back to music. I'm sure, do you ever, take your tunes with you on the job site?
Yeah, I actually when I worked in the high rise, every person knows me as a singing plumber.
There you
But
go. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I sing while I work, and it makes the day goes by. And sometimes the guys pretend that they didn't like it, and the days when I'm not singing, they be like, "What happened? Why you not singing?" So it's fun.
Right, and something's immediately wrong with you at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I know you're always working on something new, or some way to kind of get in front and interact and really help our tradeswomen. What are you working on now?
So, being that we really didn't have time to spend in community seeing people anymore, we were about to start in March with Women's History Month, something called Tradeswoman Talk, where we were going to bring in different women to speak to the girls and young boys in the school. And we couldn't do it anymore. So we decided to be like you and start a podcast. So we started a podcast called Tradeswoman Talk. And the thing about Tradeswomen Talk is just to hear inspirational stories, because my story is not the only inspirational or cool stories, but open up the floor to women and also men. We're gonna have men on there that really believe and are passionate about the power of the trades. and letting people learn and see that a lot of us were on different paths and then we fell in love with the trade. So it's just to hear stories about tradeswomen and hopefully inspire people not only to pick up the tools, but also to just go after that whatever that is in their lives. So try to make it as fun as possible the way that I am, and bring some Judaline into that process. But just to get us talking
Yeah, and Sharon, I got to tell you, I think it was at the same, we were thinking on the same lines. I think it was like the same week that I saw your promotion saying it was coming, the
yeah,
podcast was the same time we were behind the scenes kind of creating ours as well. And, you know, the power of trades, I just love that line. I mean, we can say it over and over. One
yeah,
of the first kind of introductions to that love of it, I don't know if you watched it recently, it would have been like, I think it's the season is kind of went away where you would have to research it and go back. But the dirty jobs where,
yeah,
Mike would go in and show us, I would love that. And just a little taste of that in my job with Empowering Pumps, we get to go to manufacturing plants and see a little bit of all the different trades within that. But there really is. I mean, you just name it from the person that runs the forklift to the
yeah,
plumber to the welder, electrician, etc. Right? There's so
yeah.
many people in that category. So I can't wait to listen to your podcast. It's going to be great.
And yours too, like a lot of people, myself included, like we really, I am biased because we all have our biases of only, being all informed about the trades. But when you think about it, so much people in manufacturing, I mean, I knew it's a trade, but just to bring those stories to light too, you know what I mean? It's like, friends who were doing mining, bringing that story to life. I think people working with their hands and what we do, our stories need to be out there to remind people of all the amazing things they benefit from people that work with their hands. It's just, I love it.
And we do. We build America, like you said. I mean, we have to really realize we're a manufacturing company. We're out there producing things, even our water, right? So we produce that and make sure that it's clean for everyone. And then our comfort. People don't understand how much we need, for example, plumbing to make sure that we're comfortable at home. So it's just, I love telling these stories and about how the unsung heroes are out there taking care of us. And so I'm looking forward to being able to share this with our network and our industry, and then, to be able to support you in any way. Is there anything else you kind of want to tell that group of people, our listeners?
Yeah, yeah, for all the listeners out there, first of all, I want to say be safe, be well, and be kind. And, while you saying thank you to the police officers, which they're doing a great job, the firemen, EMTs, the doctors, please also, the delivery guys, you remember them. Please remember the people of your trades to tell them thank you because they are also risking their lives to continue the things the comfort, like you said, we enjoy. Please remember that. And looking forward to listening to your podcast also.
Awesome. Thank you. I wanted to say I'm not exactly sure on the date when this will release, but we will still be in recovery of this coronavirus. I know you said you went out to work today. How are you staying safe and being able to still do your work there? I know New York is up there on really the top of all the countries and states of this. And my heart is with you for one, just to walking around and how that must be. But, how is it affecting your work?
It's really difficult in the sense of the morning. So, like when you get up in the morning and you have to go out there, you kind of panic. You're thinking about what am I going to do? Am I going to, give it to someone or someone? So you panic. So in the morning before I get to work, I'm in a little bit of a emotional thing trying to breathe. And then the day starts and I start working and doing actually the plumbing and fixing somebody and I'm okay. And then at the end of the day, time to go home. And then I'm like in another panic mood. Am I taking something? So it's that vicious cycle. And I have to find a way to like not take it, especially at night so I can sleep because because I'm so scared that I'm, going into somebody's home doing the plumbing and giving it to them. And then I'm scared when I'm going home if I'm taking it home to my family. So it's so a dichotomy.
we can't live in fear. We just have to keep going. But the other thing is, taking the precautions and everything that we can. And I think
Yep.
that's number one is we're scared of infecting someone else. I don't think we're as scared as being sick, but trying to not pass that along and knowing that we still have to do the work. I mean, everybody has to do the work. I mean, even we have to go to the grocery store or whatever. There's just ways that you can interact with it, and we just have to do our best to continue to wash our hands and keep our distances the best that we can.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think what I've been learning in this process is faith over fear. So a friend of mine said that to me, and I thought it was a powerful word because you're still doing it. It's not none of us out there gonna like act like we're not really scared, but we go with faith over fear, and let that get you through the next day if you need something. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending the time. I'm going to let you get a moment of rest this evening after you worked all day. I appreciate you joining us on the podcast. And I can't wait to see you again. You are awesome. And I look forward to listening to your podcast in the meantime.
Likewise, I will be tuning into yours also.
Thanks so much, Charli, for getting Judaline on the show. Her interview was amazing. And in the podcast, you also mentioned that she was starting a podcast. I'll make sure to include that link in the show notes so that our listeners can go find that as well if you want more Judaline in your life.
I absolutely want more of her in my life.
I guess this is the sad point in my week where we've come to the end of the show.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Do us a favor, make sure to subscribe so that we show up every Monday on your podcast feed. And then while you're there, leave us a rating, leave us a review. It really helps us out.
And don't forget, you can always reach us at Empowering Pumps or using the hashtag Empowering Industry Podcast. Or you can, just email us at podcast@empoweringpumps.com. And if you do tag us, remember, I'm watching, I will promote you. So just a little extra there.
We'll be back next Monday with a new episode.
So until then, be empowering.
And I do have to tell a little personal story here and how she helped me and didn't even know that she helped me. I met her and heard her speak at Energy 2.0 in Houston. And she was talking about being a plumber and how she just loves it because you go in and it's a puzzle. And then plumbing is really just a puzzle that you put back together with all these pieces. Well, then fast forward a month and a half or however long now, and we've been, self-isolating. And my husband decides he wants to fix our sink. And so he takes the whole thing apart trying to fix something. And he has it all back except this one piece. And he's like upset. Okay. I mean, I'm sure you've all been there before. And I go in and I was like, hey, have you tried turning that piece around? Plumbing is just a puzzle. And he turned the piece around and it worked.
That's awesome. See, you just throw him under the bus and I would have got
I don't care.
Yeah, I love it. He's our hype man anyway. I think he'll forgive us.
He will. And he deserves, I helped him. I solved that problem because of her. And so I'm forever in her debt.
That's so great.